Good morning. It's great to be here. And Tyrone, thank you for that very kind introduction. And I also want to say thank you to Tyrone, to Keena Carney, and to Elijah Jones, all of whom were my hosts this morning as we took a tour of this terrific facility. So thank you. Thank you very, very much. I tell you, and to Dr. Davenport, I want to just pay you the compliment that this place is amazing. And you know what's so really impressive about Frieri, as in other facilities like this, few and far between, although we want more, is that everybody here, everybody knows there's nothing more important than raising well-educated children, because that is the key to our future. So thank you very much to your entire team for being so successful. And so I know the kids who are behind me, some of you have been standing up for a while, but I know maybe that your enthusiasm that I saw in your class can help us deliver on the promise that Frieri is about, and deliver not just for you here in Philadelphia, but throughout this country. And the model that Frieri has provided me, a true inspiration already. And Tom, congratulations. I know that the board is hard at work in some very adversarial environments sometimes, and to get the truth out about what Frieri and the charter school movement is. That's why really I'm here today, to talk about education opportunity and what this school means to these kids, what it means to your families, and how can we learn from that as we pursue education opportunity at the national level. Now, as I recently learned, and as many of you know, the namesake of this school, Paulo Freire, he was a brilliant educator. He was born into poverty in 1921 in Brazil, and by the age of 10, the Great Depression was in full swing in that country, and Freire's family suffered. In fact, 2 years later, his father passed away, and his mother was left to raise him alone. And as a member of the underclass of Brazil, Paulo Freire was not afforded the same education opportunities as the wealthier children in that country. And as a result, he fell 4 grades behind in school. Now, sound familiar? Now, Freire said, I wasn't dumb. It wasn't the lack of interest on my part. He said, my social condition did not allow me to have an education. Now, eventually things improved for Paulo Freire's family in Brazil. He worked hard, he earned a law degree, and he achieved a great deal. But his story, his struggle, remain all too familiar to so many American families as we approach nearly the 100th anniversary of Freire's birthday. Now, like Paulo Freire in Brazil, children in America born into poverty often find themselves trapped in failing schools, and many simply have no way out. And the truth is, millions of low-income kids in our country today are being denied the education opportunities that are afforded wealthier children. Now, the lack of education opportunities causes too many of our kids to drop out of school. Most remain in poverty, others choose a life of crime, and some end up in jail. This, I will say this morning, this is the greatest civil rights challenge of our time, and it is up to us to solve it. Now, for too long, the federal government has tried to respond to this problem by spending more money, demanding more control from Washington. And since the mid-1960s, the federal government has spent hundreds of billions of dollars on improving schools in low-income areas with little to no effect. Student achievement is really not improving in any great way, and too many parents and children are left helpless. Today in America, nearly a quarter of public school students don't graduate high school. In our largest cities, only half of public high school students graduate on time. And our test rates still lag behind most of the industrialized world. This is simply unacceptable. The time has come in America for a serious commitment to education reform. Parents, communities, and states must be given the chance to chart a better course and finally solve this problem that Washington has been unable to solve. Now, since the 1990s, states like Pennsylvania, through their charter school laws and the establishment of schools like this one, really have begun to make some progress and offer a solution to this problem. Now, I can see, having talked to many of you and barged into some of your classes this morning, I have heard from you that this school provides a safe environment for students to learn and, frankly, has given you and your families hope for the future. And just today, I had, again, this opportunity to really live and breathe what this school gives. And it's such a positive world here. And I have had an opportunity to meet Elijah, and I'm told that your two parents, James and Crystal Jones, are here. Are they here this morning? Yes? Well, I would ask them to please stand. Yeah? So, Mr. and Ms. Jones, thank you. Thank you for being here. See, and you can have a seat, we had an opportunity, I think, to speak to the Joneses earlier, and they told us of their story and their journey of how Elijah came to Friary. And I believe if the story is correct, that what you believe about this school is probably represented by every family in here, and that is this school provides the necessary support and the nurturing environment to give these kids the confidence to learn. And as a special needs student, Elijah has had the wonderful opportunity to be exposed to what real teachers, caring administrators can do for kids. And it is that, by providing an encouragement without being a crutch, that's what Friary is about. And first and foremost, providing that safe haven, that safe environment, that no one has to worry about walking out of a class, walking into a fight breaking out in the hallways. So I think that Elijah, yours and Keena's and Tyrone's acceptance here at Friary, just like all the other kids, is giving them an opportunity that frankly will, not can, but will change their lives. And that is an amazing thing. Now, I'm really excited about that. I can see and feel that this school, if only we could replicate this school on every corner in every community in this town and then do so across the country, we would be on a path to incredible success for all kids in America, not just those that are more fortunate. So we've got to hang in there and keep fighting for that dream. But it's important to remember the story that I think most of you could tell about how your kids got here. And for all the kids that I've talked to this morning about your experience in some of the other schools you went to and how special that this school is. And the reason why it's so important for you to remember that and all of us to take that with us is because really too many cities and towns across America are seeing their children, especially those living in poverty, really lacking this opportunity. In too many cases, because that opportunity is not there, the vision for the future that these kids and families have has already begun to dim. And that is a tragedy at such a young age. But believe it or not, if we identify this problem, and if everybody sees this problem in America, but there are still some powerful forces that are opposing the development and establishment of schools like Friary. believe it or not. And, you know, as a parent, I have to wonder, who would ever want to deny parents from having better and more options for their kids? Who would want to keep kids in a school that was violent or unsafe? But sadly enough, there are those, and frankly, in some instances, it's our federal and in some cases our state governments that are stopping this tremendous progress. Now, like Pennsylvania, the state of Louisiana took advantage of the charter school movement a couple of decades ago, and they adopted a charter school law, which gave parents the option, just like Pennsylvania, to send their kids to a charter school. And after a friend of mine there, Bobby Jindal, was elected governor of that state in 2007, he championed what's called an education scholarship program that added private schools to the list of options for parents and kids in low-income families. Now, the Louisiana Scholarship Program provides a voucher for parents in low-income families to be used to pay for their kids' tuition at a private school. Now, not the case here in Pennsylvania, because as Tom said, Friary is a public school. But in Louisiana, they said this same notion of choice and opportunity that some have should be allowed under their program. But under the program in Louisiana, in order to be eligible for these scholarships, families have to meet certain income requirements significantly below the poverty level, 250% below the poverty level. And their kids have to be attending one of the state's failing schools. And what this has meant for thousands of students in Louisiana is a real lifeline. This program has provided a way out of failing schools and a way in to a brighter future. And that's what it's about. But just last month, the Department of Justice in Washington, our own Department of Justice, sued the state of Louisiana over this scholarship program. Now, the lawsuit would prevent the vouchers from being distributed in school districts that are still operating under federal desegregation orders. Now, the department claims that the scholarship program has and will continue to impede progress made with desegregating the public school systems. But think about it. That is an absurd argument. The truth is, an overwhelming majority of the students who receive the scholarships in that program in Louisiana and who benefit from that program are minority children from low-income families. That's who these programs are aimed to help. Now, as participants in the scholarship program, these students are attending better schools. They are demonstrating real progress, just like the progress of the kids here at Friary. So you got to ask, why would our Justice Department want to stop these kids from realizing this kind of opportunity? Just like the charter school program in this state and in this city, the intent of the scholarship program in Louisiana is aimed at furthering equality for all kids, rich and poor, black and white the same. The civil rights laws of this country were enacted to ensure equal access to education and opportunity, exactly what that scholarship program in Louisiana is intended to do and is doing. The program, in fact, is the very opposite of a civil rights violation. It is a civil rights solution. Now, the scholarship program in Louisiana challenges the status quo and provides hope to these kids and their parents. Now, earlier this year, I went to New Orleans so I could see for myself the success of that program. And when I was there, I met a mom named Essence Jackson. And like most parents, Essence sent her daughter, Milani, to a local public school in Orleans Parish. And soon, Essence was told by one of her daughter's teachers that Milani really needed a different environment in order to achieve her potential. The teacher told Essence about the Louisiana Scholarship Program and encouraged her to apply. And Milani was accepted into the program, and she enrolled in a new school. And after seeing her daughter thrive, blossom in that new learning environment, Essence told me that she'd do whatever she could. She'd even take on 3 jobs so that Milani could stay in that school. Now I wonder, if our Justice Department has its way, what will happen to Milani and Essence? Will Essence be forced to work those 3 jobs just to keep Milani at the school she's in? Or will Milani be forced to go back to the school that failed her? Is that the consequence the Justice Department is seeking? Halting the Louisiana Education Opportunity Program would trap low-income minority kids in failing schools. This is nothing but Washington standing in the schoolhouse door, and this has got to stop. Now, I call on the United States Attorney General Eric Holder to withdraw this suit immediately. Low-income and minority students across Louisiana should not be denied the education opportunity they deserve. And if the Attorney General does not withdraw this suit, then the U.S. House will act. We will leave no stone unturned in holding him accountable for this decision. The Attorney General will have to explain to the American people why he believes poor minority children in Louisiana should be held back, and why these children shouldn't have the same opportunity that the children from wealthier and more connected families have. That's what's fair. Why is it that he's standing up for denying that fairness? And sadly though, if you look around the country, you look around in even Pennsylvania, the Attorney General is not the only opponent to expanding education opportunity through school choice. Opponents to this type of education reform include teachers' unions and associations in many states. They see it as a threat to the status quo, to the current system, the only system they know. But let me be clear, school choice is not an attack or an indictment on teachers or our public schools. My 3 children attended, all of whom graduated from public schools in Virginia. They had excellent teachers. The schools they attended had caring administrators, all of whom were focused on the goal that Freire has adopted as well, is preparing my kids for college for their next step in their education. But the truth is, where I live in Virginia, little more than 10 miles away, in the same county and in the neighboring city, poor children are heading to school each morning in drastically different circumstances. Now in Virginia, we don't have teachers' unions, but there's still a strong attachment to the status quo, where in most cases, the schools that kids attend is based on a zip code or an address, and school boundaries are nearly untouchable. America's student population is becoming more diverse and its needs more varied. So why shouldn't our schools be allowed to specialize their focus or their means of instruction? Why shouldn't we allow students the opportunity to attend a school that meets their needs regardless of where they live? Now, in the end, I know that opponents of school choice and those who stand in the way will ultimately fail, and that strengthens my resolve and my faith. 50 years ago, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stood on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial and dreamed of an end to segregation. He knew this dream would be a reality because, as he often said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Education opportunity is justice for those children trapped in failing schools, and the arc is bending. Now, back then, school choice was only a dream. Just 30 years ago, school choice was open only to families who could afford to buy a nice house in an affluent area, or those who could pay to send their kids to private schools. Charter schools and private school scholarships were virtually non-existent. But today, over 2 million students across the country take advantage of public charter schools like Free Eric. Another 225,000 students use vouchers or tax credit scholarships to attend private schools of their family's choosing. So times are changing. These new options are creating real results for our children. A recent study showed that in Washington, D.C., where there is a robust charter school system, charter students gain the equivalent of an extra 72 days in reading and 101 days in math instruction over the course of a year compared to their counterparts in traditional public schools. Think about that. 72 more days equivalent in reading and 101 days equivalent in math instruction for those kids in a school like this versus those in a traditional public schools in Washington, D.C. So while education opportunity has been expanding in places like this and in the District of Columbia and elsewhere, school choice is also gaining traction at the federal level. 13 years ago, when Congress last considered a major education authorization bill, there were very few provisions related to education opportunity through school choice. Earlier this year, when the House considered the Student Success Act, I offered an amendment that allows parents to take Title I funds and use them to attend a public school of their choice, including charter schools. My amendment and this legislation passed the House. The next time Congress considers a major education reauthorization, I believe we will adopt full school choice. So today, for the first time, I'm going to make a prediction. Because the arc of moral history bends towards justice, because education opportunity is growing throughout the country, because really there's no good argument for denying parents the best possible education for their child, and because of the successes I see in this room and in this school, within 10 years, education opportunity and school choice will be a reality for every single student in America. So Paulo Freire believed everyone should have the necessary tools to succeed. He dedicated his life to providing those tools to the underserved. He did this because he knew. He knew what it was like to be denied access to learning. He knew what it was like to go to bed hungry for food, and also hungry for knowledge. And he dedicated his life to that end, and we must dedicate ours. And we can't just stop there. All of us, we've got to build a movement, because we'll only prevail, our nation's kids will only prevail if we get more and more folks to join us and spread the word. So let's make a commitment here today, all of us. We've got to challenge the status quo, and the tools are there. We've got to issue a call to action on behalf of all kids like you across this country. So when you leave here today, I'm not going to say interrupt your classes, but when you leave here today, let's start. Call, email, tweet, Facebook, share what we're talking about today. Inequality is the problem, and education opportunity is the answer. So again, Dr. Davenport, I want to thank you and your entire team at Free Eric School. Tom, I want to thank you and the board for having us. And I want to thank my good friend who's here, Joel Greenberg, who has introduced me to what Frieri was all about in the beginning, because it's doing so much good. I want to thank you for allowing us to come today, for the attentive audience that you've been, and just for the students. Do not let obstacles stand in the way of your goals. And if you work hard, like I see all of you doing, you can choose the direction of your desire, and you can live that American dream. And I know you will. I wish you all the very, very best. Godspeed. Thank you very much. Thank you.